and, let's first start off with maybe a good way to frame the conversation is, you know, there's a common thread among experienced entrepreneurs, which is we talk about our early mistakes that we have as founders, right? I've had tons. I know you've had some, and but rarely, we talk about the mistakes we've made as investors too. And so I'd love to hear some of your memorable mistakes that you made when you started out investing and were kind of new to the kind of venture scene, and what you learned from that.
Um, I, it's a good question, and I think that it's something that actually I speak a lot with some friends, founders that start investing. And I think that the first common mistake is, since we when you start, you have a limited access to deal flow, and then you compare to a limited different companies, no, or startups. So obviously, what you think is good or bad is very limited. On the other hand, you have, usually when you're a founder, you have access to other founders. And the first mistake is not wait and see more deal flow, so you have a better sample to compare. Um, so it's the contrary of what it's counterintuitive, but you need to be very patient and start looking. And you might, in some certain case, lose opportunity in some good companies, but it's part of the learning curve of investing. The second biggest mistake I think is we usually start doing like bigger checks, because we, we believe, like we believe in the company, and then suddenly you made 3 4 investment and you're out of money, and then come the fifth or the sixth, and that's a great company and you don't have money anymore. And exactly what happened to us. We started investing what for us was big checks at the moment when we started investing, and obviously you make mistakes. You haven't seen that many companies, so. And then when we started getting to YC and starting investing, we were very limited in the amount of money that was available. So usually what I suggest to founders or to angel investors is, okay, think backwards, how much money are you ready to invest? It doesn't matter like if it's a lot of money or less, but divide that by at least 10. So you'll be sure to invest at least in 10 companies. And then it's very rare that in a good company, somebody will not accept your money because it's a small check. It's often the contrary, but that's the kind of thing that in the beginning you don't know, and you believe that putting a bigger check will be easier for somebody to accept your money. But it's actually the contrary. A good company, one like doesn't have enough space for enough investors. So the smaller the check, the easier it is actually to get allocation. So by dividing that, uh, usually it can be 7, it can be 12, but try to find a number where you're actually going to make a portfolio. And the third mistake is believing that investing in startup is actually a good business. It's not, and probably most of them will not succeed, and most of the money will be lost. The good thing is that only with one that's successful, you're probably gonna make some money, but it's not like life. Like usually, it's not like life-changing money when you invest, unless you invested in Coinbase, when they just started and you knew the founder. But most of the time, it will be like part of being part of those companies and grow with them, and with an interesting portfolio. Um, you the end result, if everything goes right, that you're going to make some money, but it's not a given like of investing and then you're going to make money. It's actually the contrary.
Yeah, this is a bit of the like false understanding that a lot of like the wealthy families in Latin America have, is that they're like, they're trying to write big checks, buy big chunks of companies, and then they're used to investing in real estate where it has like, your monthly kind of, income coming from the investment, and that's just not the reality of startups. So, I love the power law dynamic, right? You're talking more about like, making sure you have a large enough portfolio. You don't want to miss the big winners, and kind of it makes a lot of sense to have that portfolio construction. So, you know, the early days, what kind of checks? So you were writing, bigger checks in the beginning. It's funny, I made the same mistake, right? The check size kept getting smaller for me because I started running out of money too. And then I realized that instead of putting $150,000 in a company, I probably should have put in 10 or 15K in 15 companies. And then, you become less emotionally tied also. You never want to invest more than you can afford to lose, right?
Exactly. I think that's the point. What I usually say to an angel investor is put something that if you lose, because actually it's highly probable that you're gonna lose, it's not gonna you're gonna be able to sleep that night, and if you make a 10x, then it's gonna pay for the 10 companies that you invested. And but actually it was actually more or less the same numbers, 150 $200,000 checks in the beginning, and we went down and down and down to 10 $10,000 checks, and until we raise the fund, and then obviously then it goes up again, but because it's completely different investing with a fund than investing as an angel. As an angel, every investing, it's like you go to the casino and you play roulette. Every time you spin, it's another game, and with a fund, it's more like a poker tournament. It's you have to construct, manage your chip. You need to get to the final table if you want to